What's the goal of this presentation is like I'm not going to tell you precisely what Kanban Cadences are because it's quite easy to Google for it. And if you'll find this presentation and story that I'm going to share with you in any way inspiring to do it, I simply encourage you to take a look at how communication loops, feedback loops look in your organization, no matter what framework you're working with or method or what is the size of your organization. My goal is also to start with like debunking, demystifying one of common misconceptions which I keep hearing from teams, especially teams switching from one methodology to Kanban, because it's so much easier. There are no iterations, there are no planning meetings, and there are no meetings at all. So the story I'm going to share to you today is that in organization working with teams working in Kanban way, we actually had quite a lot of meetings. We were actually not creating new one, but using the one, hijacking the one that we had. And I believe this was a significant part of the fact that we actually succeeded in somehow. First, a little bit of background. Who plays the games? Okay. Who plays PC games or console games? Okay, a little bit less people than mobile. But I can assure you that launching a new game, PC game especially, is quite a big project. And this is a story of a gaming company. It's not a gaming development company, it's a gaming publishing company. It's a totally different universe. If you're interested in details, just ask me over coffee, what does it really mean? What does it really mean? This company was like, post-startupish company based in Berlin, had like 50, 60 people, and was usually just working on one or two projects. What happened was something what every company owner wishes for. So the company got acquired by a big German media group. And well, okay, probably lots of money to burn. What appeared was lots of people to hire because our new owner had their own business, also operating within games publishing business. But because this business was, well, not operating as expected, they basically dumped on us all of their projects that they had live on production and that they had in their pipeline in preparation for the launch. So we had to hire lots of people. I think the company grew like really exponentially within a year from like mentioned 60s or 70 people to something around like 300 plus, to make it easier, of course, with external partners and with people distributed across different time zones. What do you think has happened to a company like this? Well, definitely it's challenged. Probably the most obvious one and the easiest to resolve, but not so cheap in Berlin anymore, is like the office space. So we had to grow. Well, this you can do relatively easy, especially if you have lots of money. But there are two other changes which are much more significant and much more important for the company. It's a challenge of culture and communication. What I mean as culture and communication here is like before, it was relatively easy to, well, find guys from marketing because there were just two of them. And during this crazy period, we really had scenarios like this, that people were going for 2 weeks long holidays. They were coming back to their floor and they haven't recognized any face around them. Actually, we even had a case when one person had 3 days to realize that her team is no longer on this floor. So she had to go and check on different floors where is her team located now. Well, lots of challenges. What can we do in a situation like this? Any ideas? Well, take a look first of what we see in here. Do not jump to conclusions. So we actually take a look at the company, and we realize that historically the company was organized in something what you could say functional teams or component teams if you're using like a software development nomenclature. Do you know what's on the picture? A cell, yes, a living cell, right? A living cell, and if you remember anything from the class of biology, they're single-cell organisms, and single-cell organisms, because they have their nucleus, because they have all the machinery providing energy, are basically self-sustainable. So they can live on their own. They can react to what's happening around them in the environment. They can inspect and adapt to what is happening inside the cell, and basically they are quite good on their own. We had these functional teams, and we had project or product or title teams, if you like. So teams responsible for like arranging everything to launch a new product, new project, new game. And we figured out that some of these teams are not so nice and green, but some of these teams look like this. Do you know what could it be? Cancer cell, very good. Yeah, I hear like one voice. I don't know who is it, but okay. Yeah, that's a cancer cell. So what actually is a cancer? Cancer are our own cells, which are, let's put it mildly misbehaving, right? So they are like expanding, they are growing, they are going through mitosis, and basically they just go beyond control. So we figured out that some of the teams in our company are actually behaving like cancer. They were producing a lot. They were making a lot of noise around them. Unfortunately, not much of what they produced were actually valuable to cells around. So we also figured out that some other cells in the organizations are actually starving. They don't have anything to do. They don't have value. They don't have, like, life juices to live. What we realized is, like in nature, maybe I should give the digression that I'm by formal academic education biotechnologist, so I like to look at the perspective of biochemistry and biology. We realized like we need some kind of nervous system that would basically align all these things. Do not manage them because they are self-sustainable cells, but at least align them and give them some direction to follow. So again, the question is what to do now? Are there any agile coaches or change agents or scrum masters in here? Okay, does it sound like a case for agile transformation for you? If yes, please raise the hand. Well, okay. We also considered such scenario, but there were, let's just say, a disagreement about how to do it. On one hand, this company has been traveling through very disruptive phase, and I'm personally a believer in a, let's just say, statement that every company, every organization, every team has a certain capacity to face number of changes going through. So we heard, of course, good advices like let's bring model. Do you believe you know what model would it be? Yeah, model starting with S, and it's not Tesla. And the other one, for example, also starting with safe, but has nothing to do with agile. Yeah, safe. Okay, bad word. Yeah. So we said no. How about no? That was one of the common phrases used by one of our directors, and we said, whoa, slowly. Let's do it in an evolutionary way. Now the Kanban hits in, as you can imagine, because it's an evolutionary method. So we said, well, let's take a look how our organization communicates internally. Just a blank page. Let's start drawing what we have now, how it works now, and what is missing. So first of all, we realized that we have lots of these teams who are already working with Kanban, who are having their daily meetings called usually walk the board, because we usually read the board, we act on what's going on the board by reading it from right to left. But because multiple product and functional teams were responsible for delivering things to multiple stakeholders, what we figured out was like definitely they needed somehow to, Scrum people would say plan, and what Kanban people usually say is like replenish and commitment meeting. So have a good conversation with your stakeholders, especially If capacity of your team is limited, and usually capacity of all teams is limited to a certain degree, how to do it? So we use the meeting. This is the hijacking part starts. We use the meeting, which was historically organized just to, well, meet with stakeholders. COO of the company was attending from time to time. Many people were simply skipping the meeting because they didn't have any sense of, meaningful meeting. So what we did is like we rearranged it a little bit. So we kindly asked people who didn't have time to attend to send their representatives. And we reversed the meeting from like, you request job from us, to telling this is the capacity that we have, and now you need to tell us what to do with it. Of course, it requires a lot of courage and a little bit support from management, but surprisingly, lots of barriers were in our heads, and it really worked well. So people who were sending the representatives started showing up at these meetings couple weeks later, because they actually saw that this is the meeting when they can bargain with other product owners, with other projects, to basically just compete about it. And if they figure it out that, well, we are not going to do this translation, we are not going to do this marketing campaign on time, basically they knew about it early, and they could ask, for example, for extra funding to do it externally or stuff like that. Not without a reason, I said that launching a PC game especially is quite complex. So we realized that also delivering the product, because, well, we weren't just, a website that could deliver multiple times a day, that we need to have some kind of alignment in delivery. So again, we used a meeting which was usually meeting between us and production and people responsible for the infrastructure, how to do it together. So they, the very busy people who usually fight with fires on production, so they would know what's coming and they would know what we actually want from them. And as you can imagine, if you know anything about Kanban, the real Kanban also talks about metrics, about how you perform. So you measure, you can improve. What we did was like with, again, all the teams involved, we started checking our operations review. Well, fancy name, what does it actually mean? Of course, we started with measuring lead time. And it led us to the situation when the teams could actually say to their product, to their business, so-called, what is feasible and what is not. So let's imagine that there's a very important person from the company coming and saying like, well, we have a free TV time. We could put advertisement of our game on TV. So we need an advertisement. Yeah. Okay. You need a video clip. Yes. You know that we do these video clips with external resources. Yes. I don't care about money. It's not about money. We've measured the time that we usually produce such video clip, and it takes like, let's just say 40 days. And you ask us to do it within 10 days. We actually measured that the 40 days is a single case when we did it, when we had all of the materials, all of the copy, all of the creative brief to do it instantly available, and you don't have it. So what are the chances that we're going to do it within 10 days? Well, it didn't make all people happy, but it raised awareness that things don't happen just like that in the company. This was working quite well for quite some time, unless we realized that we are like becoming a well-organized, let's just say, organism, but we forget about what is going on outside of the company. So we knew that from time to time, our C-level managers had like, a quarterly retreat or meeting or something like this, where they were discussing things about our relationships with our partners, about new licenses, about changes on the market. They were actually using directly data collected by business intelligence unit. We realized that very often, too late, we learn about such informations. So we kindly ask, hey guys, is it actually possible that we could somehow knew about it earlier? Or yeah, you tell us, we ask, whatever. Surprise, surprise, they were open to actually invite some of us for a part of their meeting to talk about risks, to talk about events happening on the market. And again, bad talk about management was something that we had in our minds, because once they realized that it actually it can pay off positively for us to know about it, they had nothing to do, they have nothing against it. And then this very early morning, does anyone know what's on the picture? That's Berlin's U-Bahn. It's very rarely so empty and so clean. That's why I wanted to show this picture. I'm sitting and I'm reading this blog post by David Anderson, so guy behind Kanban method, where he actually describes something what is called Kanban Cadences. So yes, finally cadences. Kanban cadences are basically, well, a network of feedback loops which can have a form of meetings, which basically make sure that your single cell, your team, do not become cancerous team and do not become starving team, because you have enough information about what is required from you, to whom and what do you deliver, how well do you do it, and what are the external factors, external stressors, basically, you know, having impact on your organization that may impact your cell, your team. And I would say you rather want to know earlier than later about such things. So first thing I did was sharing at HipChat. At that time, that was the fancy application around. Hey guys and girls, this is the Kanban Cadences blog post I've just read about. This is like the original framework of all possible 7 meetings. I asked, isn't it what we do? Isn't it what we're trying to accomplish in the company? And it was a big booster of energy for us that, well, we actually, well, discovered something what other people were doing and let's just say, promoting around the world. Of course, our Kanban cadences in the end didn't look identically, and I do not encourage anyone to have all 7 meetings. It's all about like, what do you need? But just being aware that this kind of feedback loop may be necessary. So what we did is like we combined these 2 meetings, which in like original framework are separated. We moved the risk review to conversation with upper management. And we added one, I would say, meta-level meeting just for our release team to basically help and support other teams with their synchronization loops. Yeah, that's basically it. So there was no big bang transformation. The surgery was successful, and as you can see, the patient survived as well. So that was a huge success that we at least seen it this way. And guess what's next? The next thing was, how about cross-functional independent teams? But you're not going to hear it from me, because that's another story. That's the next level. Thank you very much.